Let's talk about why. Why do you want to do lean? Well, after all, you're running a business, right? And if you're running a business and you don't want to get better, then why do we have you running the business? Why don't we get somebody else that does want to get better? So, you really want to run it for results. And I'll give you this example. This is WireMold's results. I can show you results from lots of other companies that are very similar to this, but let's just focus on this for a second. We took our lead times from 4 to 6 weeks down to 1 to 2 days. Productivity was up 162%. Our gross margin rose by 13 points. Now, those of you that are manufacturers, how would you like to have an increase in your gross margin percent of 13 points? So what's required? There's some steps that you have to go through here. First of all, you need some sort of a proven approach. And this is the approach that I've used successfully over and over and over in lots of different companies. And it includes 3 management principles, which we'll talk about, and what I call the 4 lean fundamentals, which are universally true in any kind of lean implementation. Let's talk about lean as the strategy. What we're talking about here is what you want to focus on is your processes, not your results. We talked about the Make the Month company and the big reviews. Well, the results already happened. There's nothing you can do about that anymore, right? They already happened. They're behind you. But the processes, if you improve the processes, you can improve the future results. So focus there. If you do that, you're going to improve your strategic options. I showed you WireMold going from 6-week lead time to 1 to 2 days. What do you think happens strategically if I have a 2-day lead time and my competitors have a 6-week lead time? I've improved my strategic options, right? Lead from the top. People don't like to change, and so you have to lead them. You can't manage a lean turnaround. You have to lead it. And that means that you have to lead by example. I told you, if you can't get the leader involved, don't do it. The leader, once he's involved, has to lead by example. Has to be sort of out front, hands-on, if you will. He has to understand that lean is something you only learn by doing. You can't learn it in a book. You can learn the principles and stuff, but you don't really learn it until you do it. And so you have to do a lot of doing. You have to be on a lot of Kaizens. And you have to commit to becoming a lean expert. You don't have to start out that way. Nobody that runs a successful lean company today started out as a lean expert. They learned it as they went along because they got involved and they forced themselves to learn it. And then the last thing is what you're trying to do is to transform the people. Your people are the only asset that you have that can appreciate and value over time. And it's your job to make sure that it does. So you want to respect your people, and you want to listen to their ideas. The people who do the value-adding work are always going to be the ones who come up with the best ideas of how to remove the waste from that work, because they know what it is. They've been telling you for years, but you just never listen to them. You were too busy making the month or some other crazy thing. And you want to create a learning environment. If you can teach people how to take a setup from 14 hours to 6 minutes, they've learned a lot in that process, right? Because before they didn't think it was possible. So there's learning going on when you're doing that. But the leader has to keep the pressure on the learning. So if I keep removing inventory and pulling it out of the system and forcing it out, I'm forcing people to learn how to live without it, right? But that's a leader's role. You got to push that. There's a little bit of pushing that going on to create this learning environment. Because what we're really trying to do is we're trying to go from lean as the strategy to where lean is the strategy and I have a lean culture. And if I have a lean culture, the ability to compete with me in the marketplace, pretty difficult. I'm going to probably beat you up. The next thing is, those are the management fundamentals, and now there's some lean fundamentals that have to be in place as well. And most of you know what these are, I'm sure, because I think most of you are either doing lean or way down the path of that. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these, but work to tack time. Tack time is a very important lean concept because it brings in the beat of the customer, the rate at which the customer requires the product. So if I have a 450-minute day and I have a demand for 450 units that day, my tack time is 1 minute. I have to make one every minute. But knowing that is really critical to understanding and seeing what the waste is in the company. One-piece flow. In most traditional companies, we batch things, so the product is made in different parts of the factory or in different factories altogether, and eventually comes together. One-piece flow, I make it in a sort of U-shaped cell or a couple of straight lines, but from the time I pick up the raw material till the time I put it in the box is very short. Value-added time is very short. So what's happening there is the one-piece flow is the key to productivity, and it's also the key to quality. Because once I have things in a one-piece flow cell, I can see what the quality issues are, and so when I fix them, I can get a permanent solution as opposed to just a temporary solution, which I might get if I have a 6-week lead time and I don't know when in the 6 weeks the error occurred. It's hard for me to go back and find it. Standard work is very straightforward. It's the standardized way that we want to do any particular job. If you go to a batch company and you have 5 people doing a job and you go observe them, I can promise you that all 5 will be doing it a different way, because we never really cared about that. We just said we need 1,000 pieces today, here you go, and they did it however they wanted to do it. In Lean, we don't want that. We want everybody to do it the same way, because if everybody does it a different way, how can I have consistent quality? How can I have consistent productivity? I can't. The fundamentals are just against me. And then a pull system, of course, is you want to pull, everything should be pulled from the demand of the customer, pull back through the factory, pull back to your vendors, all the way through the supply chain. It should be a pull system, not a push system. Because this is very important. It's nice to give you some theory and some stuff, but okay, so now what do I do? How do I do this? First of all, there's some upfront work that you need to have. You got to articulate your vision. I'll show you a strategy in a second that sort of does that. I think you should establish some core values that you're going to run to inside the company, and maybe some expectations for the workforce. What do we expect from you when you come to work every day? A simple strategy is important. The next thing is, I think you should establish some core values. We had a little symbol with a Q for quality in the middle of it, and these things surrounded it. And we had it on everything, all of our literature, all of our internal billboards, et cetera. We had it posted up on the wall. And we just said we want to focus on 3 things: people, customers, and Kaizen. Now go back to what's a business? People, processes, delivering value to customers. So this is really the same. We said we're going to focus on the people and the customer, and we're going to use Kaizen to improve the value-adding activities to deliver more value to the customer. Pretty simple, but it was something that's easy for people to understand. And then we established, we call it sort of a code of conduct, but it's really a set of expectations for your people. What do we expect you to do when you come to work here? No, not a big list. And I wanted this instead of a big, thick employee manual that only lawyers could love. I wanted something I could hand out to people. So we put this on little plastic wallet cards and we handed them out to every employee. We said, this is how we want you to behave. Respect others, tell the truth, be fair, try new ideas, ask why, the 5 whys, keep your promises and do your share. Pretty simple. And we stuck with this, and people understood this. So it really helped us raise all the people up as we went along, because part of your job is to make sure that one asset that can appreciate your people actually appreciates. This code of conduct helped us. So now you've got some upfront things and strategy and some other principles. The next thing you need to do, I think, is to reorganize for Lean. You need to create a value stream structure as opposed to a functional structure. The simplest example I can give you that you can relate to probably is a hospital. Hospitals are silo operations. They're completely silos. They have silos within silos. And when you go to a hospital, the problem you have is to get treated, you have to cross a whole bunch of different silos. And you hope that those silos will talk to each other and do the right thing. But they don't always do that, unfortunately. And so hospitals create a lot of problems. But within the hospital, there's natural value streams. There's a natural value stream for example, the heart, everything associated with the heart. Maybe a $500 million a year hospital, the heart value stream might be 150 million of that. And they probably have another value stream for bones. Maybe they have another value stream for babies, or whatever they happen to focus on. There's natural value streams, but they don't organize that way. So what I'm saying is, before you start serious Kaizen activity, organize by value stream. And then name the team leaders for each value stream, and create a Kaizen promotion office within the company that's going to help all these value stream leaders get rid of the waste. What's the leader's role in this? As I said before, you can't manage a Lean turnaround, you have to lead it. And so the leader has the main role here, and what the leader does is extremely important. First of all, the leader has to make the case for change. Why do we want to do this? What do we expect? But you don't just make it once. You don't send out a memo and then go back to your office. You You've got to keep making this. You've got to keep making the case for this over and over and over for years and years and years. Because otherwise, your organization will just drift back to what they were before. The leader also has to figure out how to get everybody on board, everybody going in the same direction. If I have 1,000 people in the company, I want all 1,000 of them to be contributing ideas on how to remove the waste. In the typical company, we don't listen to most of the people. We have maybe the top 25 or maybe 50 people, and they're the ones that are coming up with all the ideas on improvements and how to do things better. You know, we're kind of relying on a small group. But if you do that and I get all 1,000 people to help, over time I'm going to eat your lunch. The leader should think about implementing policy deployment or Hoshinkanri up very early, because it really helps to sort out where your focus should be and what kind of resources you have to support that focus. Most companies, without Hoshinkanri, most companies will have 10 or 15 number one priority things to do this year. The fact that they can only resource 3 of them doesn't seem to occur to them. And as a result, not only don't they get the 3 done, they don't get any of them done. You know, all 15 sort of drift off, and well, we didn't quite get there, this changed, something happened, blah, blah. Whereas Hoshinkanri helps you to focus and say, I can only resource 3, put the rest of them in a parking lot, but let's make sure that these 3 get done. So it's a very, very valuable tool. The lean leader also has to be willing to take a lot of leaps of faith. You know, when we first started working with the Japanese, they'd come in and they'd just start moving stuff right away. And people were like, wait a minute, we haven't moved those machines in 15 years, so that now we're going to move them around? And so we always said, yeah, go ahead, move them. But in the backs of our mind, Konensaker and I, in the backs of our mind was always the idea of, well, what if this doesn't work? You know? But that was the leap of faith. We took the leap of faith saying, well, we'll figure out how to make it work. We didn't know how we were going to do that. We just said we're going to. And we had a lot of problems. A lot of times it didn't work, but we never went backwards. We never said, okay, put it back to where it was. Never. We always said, find out how to fix it. Leave it where it is and fix it. So those are the kind of leaps of faith that only the leader can take. Nobody else can do it. Everybody else will go back to the way it was. You also have to, the leader has to be the guy who pushes through the problems, right? And you're going to have a lot of problems. Things aren't going to go that smooth. So, and every time you have a problem, the naysayers are going to say, see, I told you that wouldn't work here. We're not like those other companies. We shouldn't be doing this. So if you let that happen, you're not going to go anywhere. So the leader has to push through those and make it a reason to go even faster, not to slow down. So, in summary, lean provides, in my opinion, an unfair competitive advantage. It's the most strategic thing you can do in the most strategic way that you can run your business. And my friend Mr. Nakao, who is an ex-Toyota guy, worked for Taiichi Ohno for a long time. I've worked with Nakao for, I don't know, 25 years, 27 years now, something like that. And Nakao always said to me, Byrne-san, if you don't try something, no knowledge can visit you. Think about that. If you don't try something, no knowledge can visit you. Very true. So I hope that when you go home, you will try something so knowledge can visit you. Thank you very much.